The past few years have been frustrating as an Assassin's Creed fan, and even more frustrating is identifying why. The games in question, starting from 2017's Origins to the most recent commercially successful title, 2020's Valhalla, have introduced us to a new formula to the franchise, with RPG mechanics. But with the reveal of the newest title coming in 2023, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is being described as a return to form for the franchise, I wanted to take a critical look at what the real issue is with the games as of late. So without further hesitation, let's get right into it. What is going on, everyone? It is the Blind Prophet. I've grown up playing the open world stealth series of Assassin's Creed, all the way from Bloodlines on the PSP to now Valhalla on PC, and as a fan have started to feel disconnected from the franchise with the newest titles. Some would argue that the RPG mechanics have started this feeling. However, I personally think this direction to make the games more akin to an experience like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is definitely a step towards the franchise growing and evolving, but this step forward has left behind one of the most crucial elements to the series. With the decision to make the games more RPG, the foundation needed more combat and less of a focus on stealth. So where does that leave us? With warriors for protagonists. Now, yes, the assassins have always been warriors, but belonging to the Brotherhood and an ideology, choosing to strike from the shadows, not lead a siege or initiate a full battle. Although Bayek becomes a hidden one at the end of Origins, the past 3 games have you play as someone that has no ties to the assassins whatsoever. A flaw that is more egregious with 2018's Odyssey. You were a Greek mercenary in a time way before the assassins were formed. The character doesn't even don any sort of robes or hood, nor do they utilize the franchise iconic weapon, the Hidden Blade. The title of the game is Assassin's Creed, yet we are not taking part in being anything like an assassin. The other franchise iconic parkour is also the weakest it's ever been. Don't get me wrong, the climbing is the best the series has seen, with almost any surface being scalable, but it wasn't just about climbing. The series parkour was a tool to allow the player a swift exit and retreat, tailing specific targets, finding ways to infiltrate a fortress or enemy hideout of some sort, or even obtaining an advantageous position above a target to assassinate. There was style and grace to the assassin parkour, and agility that added to the lethality of the character, all of which now just feels as the warriors do, heavy, clunky, and a means to an end. Once again, I know we've had characters before that definitely focused a lot on action. In particular, Connor and Edward come to mind, and the latter of which could also be argued wasn't an assassin either. But I think there's definitely a distinction between a pirate that finds himself in the middle of the fight of the Templars and Assassins, adopting several tactics and ideologies of the Creed along the way, over a Greek mercenary that is looking for their mommy the whole game. I've been playing a lot of Valhalla lately, and my feelings on the game basically sum up the franchise for me. The game is a phenomenal experience, if you disregard the title of the game on the cover. It's not Assassin's Creed. If anything, it's at most an extension or spin-off. Heck, Watch Dogs is more Assassin's Creed at this point, with having an actual playable assassin in Legion. Eivor is a Viking, trying to make claim with their clan in England. The Wolf-Kissed Viking meets assassins, and that's pretty much it. The majority of the game is spent acquiring allies in England and maybe killing members of the Templar Order, but somewhat by accident. And when you kill them, Eivor's just like, oh yeah, this is one of those bad guys that assassin guy told me about.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped him? Oh,
What the fuck's happening?
oh,
Oh,
man,
shit.
man. Oh, man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Gone are the political and factional intrigues of the Assassins and Templars, replaced with quests that have us reunite lost loves.
My apple blossom girl. Is it really you?
What did he say?
I don't need a return to form gameplay-wise. I don't need the game stripped of RPG mechanics. For me, I just need to play as an assassin. I want to wear cool robes and I want to run along buildings. I want to sneakily assassinate actual Templars again. If Odyssey and Valhalla were separate games in the Ubisoft universe, I would have no issues. They would be some of Ubisoft's best work. But it's the title on the cover when you walk away with the game and load it onto your console or PC. That's what I want, is to be an assassin again. Mirage seems to be definitely rectifying this issue, where we can clearly see in the CGI trailer the focus on aspects like the Brotherhood, the robes, the hidden blade, and the finger sacrifice required for the blade at this time, social stealth, all these things that just haven't been very present in the newer titles, and if they haven't been as integral to the experience. I'm also just really curious to jump into Basim's origin story and see his journey and training in the Brotherhood. He's one of the 2 assassin characters you're introduced to in Valhalla, who is interesting, but doesn't get very involved in the story until much later in the game. So seeing his story and how he eventually comes to be the assassin that is basically just a cameo character in an Assassin's Creed game will definitely be interesting. It shouldn't be as difficult as they're making it seem with these games to just give us experiences that are true and authentic to the Creed. I've pitched a World War II based AC game here on the channel. You could virtually base an AC game anywhere you want, anytime you want, with respect to the lore. Hopefully it won't just be Mirage, but but a game I have been asking years for, AC Code Red, set in Japan, focuses on actual assassins, and probably even more interesting, Code Hexy, which will have us in the Holy Roman Empire. I could definitely see a lot of possibilities for that game, and how it could maybe even have a horror element to it. I would have no issue seeing Assassin's Creed try to take on different genres, such as that, with a possible horror aspect, as long as at the end of the day, I've got my robes and hidden blade. Some of the fantasy elements of the newer games that explore the mythos and gods of certain regions, I haven't really minded as much, since the roots of the game is based some mythos on Roman gods that were actually part of an ancient civilization. But at this point, I could care less about the ancient civilizations and that whole plot line. I personally lost interest in that after Desmond died, and they've tried to turn anything they can into a piece of Eden, where even that has lost some of its marvel to me. If the franchise just focuses on good stories centered on assassins and maybe reference some of the artifacts and characters like Juno and Minerva as Easter eggs, the series can come back stronger critically. And as a fan, I want nothing more, because I know the games won't be stopping anytime soon. So hopefully Ubisoft makes the best of what they can with the franchise before they fumble it any further. What do you think though? Do you agree with my thoughts, or do you like the way the games have been released? I'm really curious to know your thoughts and discuss it all with you down below. But with that said, stay hydrated, let them pass in peace, and excelsior.